Hey everyone, welcome back to day 4. So we're getting on with the program. Today we're going to be talking about things to avoid. So yesterday we talked about things that we're going to include in our diet as much as possible, so the fresh meat and vegetables, etc. And today we're going to be talking about the things that you really should be better avoiding if you want to have some success with keto. A lot of those will be pretty widely known and pretty well understood. And some of the things I'll suggest are probably a little bit more of a surprise. So worth sticking around to check out what those are. And some of them were things that you maybe not thinking of. Now, the things that are very well known to be avoiding with keto are things like grains. So a lot of this food that's highly profitable, very easily produced and cheap to buy, and it forms the basis of so much of our, of our Western diet, I guess. So the grains, wheat, etc., vegetable oils, starch, all those things that make up, say, a lot of the foods that are available, mostly in packages, I would say, at most grocery stores. That it's really the basis of so many things. And one of the reasons, as I said before, it's because it's so commercially sound for the companies that produce it. And so yesterday we talked about getting as much as possible our fresh meat, vegetables, etc. So really the offset of that is that we will really want to be avoiding those packaged foods and things that are high in grain content in particular. The other things, of course, that we want to be avoiding are the sugars. And not only is that the sugar that you get from your standard packet, so the white sugar, but also the different variants, so cane sugar, honey as well. As much as I'm a honey lover, unfortunately that's one of the things you avoid. And of course anything that's processed into things like donuts or candy bars, soft drinks, sodas as they call in the US, anything like that really should be best avoided. Now, there are people who would say, look, it's fine to have a diet soda, and the sweeteners are obviously far less likely to spike your insulin levels. What I would say is that that's really a personal choice. Personally, I would try and avoid it as much as possible, because whilst they may not be necessarily that bad in terms of the sugar, they often include a lot of things that you just don't know. And so I would do it in moderation if you're going to do it. Some people will swear by it and say, look, it works for them. And if you try that and it works for you, then that's fine. But if you're going into keto and you want to make it successful, I would really try and have some success before I went back to having the things like the diet sodas, because they can be really sneaky things put in your body. As I mentioned yesterday, if you can't see what it is that's going in, then there's a chance there's something that you just don't want to be there. So just as a word of advice, if you use that as your benchmark, if you're not sure what's going into your body, and it's not fresh from a product, then if you're not sure, just avoid it for the time being. Once you've had success and you've got down to your goal weight, or you've got to your the measurements you wanted, or you're feeling the way about yourself that you like to, then sure, maybe incorporate it back into your diet. But I'd really suggest that you with all those things, avoid them as much as possible. The other things that you really have to be careful with are some of the dairy products. Like milk is a good example. Milk is again a staple of a lot of people's diets, and it's unfortunately high in sugar and carbohydrates, so best avoided. If you are going to have it in like a little splash in your tea or whatever, try and go for the full fat milk if you can, and just try and limit as much as possible. High in carbs for the amount that you have generally. As we talked about a little bit yesterday, anything that comes in a box, anything that's got keto approved or whatever on there, I'd be highly suspicious of. Just be really careful. So that includes the drinks and potions and pills or whatever, and particularly anything that coming from the MLM or the multi-level marketers. Just be really wary. I know that's something that you probably would have seen in the group. A lot of things that are marketed as being magic cure to get you into ketosis, be really wary of. A lot of those things are very expensive to buy. The amount of fresh vegetables and meat you can buy for the cost of those pills or potions are amazing. I've heard of people just recently telling me that they spent $200 on a 5-pack of pills, or $130 US for a starter pack of I guess effectively it's an energy drink which promotes itself as being great for ketosis, but actually what it does is it basically gives you a false positive reading. It says that it has ketones in your blood, so anyway, we'll talk about how to check whether we're in ketosis later on, but just I would say as a general rule, avoid it. People who are having amazing results are doing it generally through diet, and doing it through diet where they're having whole foods. So spend your money on the whole foods. I'd really highly recommend. Avoid the things that are marketed heavily, because a lot of the money is just going into the marketing and not into the good quality components. I saw a quote in the paper the other day where there was an interview with a head of a major nutritional company, and he said, he basically admitted in the article that their obligation is to put money into the hands of the shareholders, not to put healthy foods into the hands of the people who buy their products. So that's something just to be really wary of. Commercial agendas will drive things that are really just not going to do you the best when it comes to your food. Okay, when it comes to other things to avoid, I would look at things like yogurts. They're high in sugar generally. Even the Greek yogurts. Greek yogurts may be okay in some circumstances, but in the early days I would really look at avoiding those, and just stay away from them for the time being. Again, maybe something to go back to once you've had a little bit of success. And the other thing, as I said, that's really I would suggest be careful with, it's keto foods just in an unlimited amount. Just because something is keto, don't think you can just eat as much as you like. You need to stay within your macros and really make sure that you are hitting those marks, because it's really important to make sure anything that you have in your body is within the daily limits. That's really the key to success. So you can say this is a keto friendly food, but really be careful of having too much. And that particularly is true if you've got something that's heavily in it's got a lot of artificial sweeteners, even if they're keto friendly ones, because those in excess can really cause you to stall. And again, I said yesterday, we'll talk more about what are the things that you can be having that are the keto friendly in the sweets department, but that's good things to avoid in excess. Okay, with the things that I've talked about today, some of the things a lot of people will say, look, they're really things that I enjoy, and I enjoy them in my life, and I totally get that. There's a lot of things that I've cut out of my diet that I've really enjoyed having in my daily input, but the payoff for that is that once you feel so much better, you look better, you look younger, you feel younger, your body's got probably a few more years of existence on the clock. All those things become really good payoffs. So really worth sticking with the program, particularly in the early days. Make sure that you get that payoff in the long run. The last thing is that yesterday I mentioned something that I would suggest that you do, and we'll I actually neglected to talk about that, but today it's in our daily to-do list, so I didn't forget it in total, so my apologies. Cutting short the video yesterday because it was going on too long. I neglected to pass this on, but we'll do it today. So for that action list, what we're going to do, we're going to check our cupboards. Have we got through the cupboards, and also looking for the sneaky ingredients, so things like the tomato sauces and whatever. Just scan them with Carb Manager or check them out. Make sure that you haven't got things in your ingredients that are going to be holding you back, that you thought were going to be okay, but actually they're the sneaky little things that will add sugars or carbohydrates to your meals without you thinking about them. Check those out. Make sure that, say, that rice or maybe your wheat will be not working, your flour, and that your fresh green vegetables are fine and your meat's okay, but there's the things like the condiments and all those other things. Check that the ones that you're using are keto friendly, and if you are going to use them, make sure they fit into your daily macros. That's the really key thing. The second thing is to shop for the ingredients of things we found in our menu yesterday. So yesterday we talked about having a daily supply of food that we could rely on next week. So make sure that you get all the shopping done and have those things ready to go, so that you're not at the last minute realizing you don't have the food that you'd like available to you. Make sure they're all good and ready to go. And then the third one really cuts back to the topic today of making things that we've got on our avoid list, understanding more about them and understanding the commercial agendas that go with them. And that is, if you find time today, tomorrow, or the next few days, if you have a Netflix, find a movie called The Magic Pill and just watch that to understand more about the food chain and the way that food acts with our body and what some of the basis is. Not strictly about keto, but it is talking about a lot of things that circle around the keto diet. So really, really worth watching, really informative, really eye-opening, and also will help to put some of the things I've been talking about for the last few days in perspective. And I think you'll find it worthwhile. So it's probably 90 minutes or so watch. Highly recommend. I say maybe something to watch over the weekend where we've only, where you've got a bit of time and you've got some time to focus and actually pay attention to what's going on. Really worthwhile. So The Magic Pill, it's available on Netflix, and you might be able to find it some other places as well, but definitely worth the time. So that's it. Check your cupboards for the condiments and things like that. Check those out. Shop for your ingredients and make sure we get The Magic Pill on our watch list. So that's it, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.